Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the AI Analyst teaching data visualization tools, but using AI to build them. It is a great pleasure to be here. My name is Andy Cotgreave. This is episode 7. For those that don't know me, I write books, best-selling books about dashboard and data apps. We've got 50 scenarios in a big book of dashboards and dashboards that deliver. I write newsletters. We've got a bunch of subscribers on Substack and LinkedIn, where I'm writing about all sorts of topics on AI and data analytics. And I speak and train. And just in time, here is our guest, Enrico. It's almost like it was planned down to the second. Enrico, how's it going?
Very good. And you?
Seamless. So I've just introduced myself, Enrico. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who you are?
Yes, so my name is Enrico Bertini, and I am a researcher in data visualization, but also a teacher of data visualization. And I've been in this area for many, many years. I stopped counting. I'm not going to reveal how many years, otherwise you know how old I am. And I am a university professor. I am a faculty member at Northeastern University. I am between two colleges, computer science and design. And I've done a lot of things over the years. I used to be a podcaster in the past for many, many years. Some of you may remember the Data Stories podcast, which I produce with Mort Stefaner. And more lately, I started during the last couple, maybe already 3 years, a newsletter on Substack, where I keep talking about data and data visualization.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And we'll put some links to the newsletters. So, Enrico, you were an inspiration to me. I think you probably started a little bit earlier than me, not too much, but certainly the Data Stories podcast was absolutely amazing. And the thing to hear back in the earlier days of this field of data visualization. So great, Enrico, it's really good to have you here. People listening, also tell us where you're tuning in from, and if you've been using AI to build data viz teaching tools, because that is the goal of what we wanted to talk about today. What we're going to do is we'll just talk through some of the things, projects Enrico and I have done, and share lessons we've learned along the way. So with that, Enrico, are you ready to share your screen? Do you want to show one of the first projects, and then we'll crack on from there?
Yeah, sure. So let me see. I'm gonna start with an interesting one. Just a sec. I have to find the right.
So once you share your screen, Enrico, I can remove. Well, if I can remove mine now.
All right. Can you see my screen?
I don't see it. There you go. A 3D color. 3D color spaces. An easy principle, right, Enrico?
Wait. But I just realized I'm showing the final version. Okay. So that's an interesting one. So as you said, a while back, I started realizing that I'll give a little bit of a premise, okay? So I started realizing that, wow, now we have these tools that do amazing things, and they can also produce data visualizations and interactive tools, right? With a few prompts.
Yeah.
And one of the most frustrating aspects of teaching data visualization is that, of course, you have to create visuals, right? It's visual. So at times it's also just conceptual, but it's essential to show examples that describe these visual effects that you're trying to teach to people, right? And in the past, I found that there were mainly two solutions to this problem. The first one was go on Google search, image search, and try to type some strange combination of words and pray that you can find an example that works for the example that for the concept you have in mind. A similar one is like, somebody else's work describes exactly that process, so you would grab it and use it, right? Or some other instructors did it before you, so you ask permission to use the same thing. Or you use any of the existing data visualization tools and you try to create it on your own, right? Which is something we did a lot in the past, especially using Tableau, right? But it's very laborious, and it's almost never perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not interactive, and so there are a lot of issues. So with these AI tools, I clearly remember one day I was like, wow, now I can create any example I have in mind, right? And I can make it interactive so that people can, or me, as I explain it, I can interact with these things so that I can show exactly how things change, how they work, blah, 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 right? Okay, so long story short, I started creating a few explainers, and one of the explainers that came to mind has been about how do I create an explainer that shows people how color spaces work, which, as you can imagine, is particularly important in visualization because you have to be able to select appropriate colors. But I found that if you don't know exactly how color spaces work, it's hard to understand the concepts behind colors. So that's the story behind it. So one of the explainers that I created is this little color channel explorer that allows you to do a couple of interesting things. One is to use different color spaces. That was my idea. I want to teach how different color spaces look like. And then let the myself, as I explain it, or eventually the students, play with the tools so that they can learn by doing, right? So you can see my screen, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I started with a medium-sized prompt, right, where I explain exactly what I want, right? I'm not going to read it entirely, but basically I wanted to be able to select different color spaces. So RGB, HSL, CIE Lab, HCL. These are the main. We don't have time to explain what this means. Okay? But
we'll just have. We did
interesting ones.
The theory of color right now, but people have to go and read up elsewhere for that.
So, and the first thing that Claude, in this case, I've been using Claude. Claude produces something like this, and it kind of works, right? So if you, ouch, there's an error here. It doesn't work, actually.
This is often the
right. So it starts with some problems. Now I remember. So there are a few problems, and then it fixes the problems. And now I can choose different. Oh, wait. Sorry.
This is. I wrote a post in Substack.
Yeah. Okay. This works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just before one of the UX challenges of AI development is locating where you are in the thread, right? So trying to go back to a specific artifact. We've just seen one of those challenges there that Enrico's experienced. All right. Okay. We've got a functioning version. So
now after a few more prompts, right, I eventually get to a point where I can show the RGB space, the HSL space, and other spaces. Okay. Let me see the CAE and HCL. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also change the individual channels, right? The ones that are not mapped to this 2D visualization, and how many swatches you have from the selection, right? So very similar to other tools that exist online. Okay, but so one reason why I wanted to describe this is to give an example of a common problems that then arise, other than the tool just stops working and doesn't really create something that is completely functional, which, by the way, has gotten so much better already. So I think I created this maybe 1 year ago, eight months ago. So I'm pretty sure that if I use the same prompts now, Claude wouldn't make the initial mistakes that you saw. Okay. Anyway, so the point is that so I look at the results, and so let's go to this. So if I show the CIE lab or HCL results, since I have the right background knowledge about how these color spaces work and what they mean, I am able to realize that what Claude produced, even if it looks completely legitimate, must be wrong. Why? Well, because I know that these color spaces have to have holes, right? If you see an actual representation of these CIE lab or HCL, you won't see the full space full of colors. There must be holes somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so point number one, if you are doing the same thing I am doing, but you don't have the background knowledge or enough knowledge, you won't be able to detect this problem, right? Because you don't know that there should be holes there, right?
Yeah.
And in any case, even if, so let's imagine that you see holes. So I that's why I went through another set of prompts here, right? And it takes a while to Claude to figure it out, because I'm like, okay, look, there should be holes, and it seems like it's understanding, but no, it doesn't understand it. And eventually, look what I did. I get to this point and I copy and pasted an image of an existing color picker, right? Let me make it a little bigger, right? That depicts how these things should look like.
Yeah.
Okay. And finally, Claude starts picking it up and understanding what the problem is, and eventually produces the right thing that I think is here. Sorry, it's many. Produces the right thing, and now you can see that there are holes, right?
Yeah,
it's not the whole space, right? Okay, so now I gain some confidence that this thing works to some extent, or at least works better. It's more plausible than the previous version, right? But now I don't know if it's doing the math correctly, right? So if you don't know the math, there's no way for you to check. So the next step here would be to go back to the code, or at least ask Claude to give you step-by-step description of what is the math that it's using to go from one space to another, or to create this space, right?
Yes.
So yeah, so that's one example of the kind of problems that can arise, and many of these problems are not specific to this specific case, right? So I think here I wanted to highlight two specific problems that generalize to many other cases. The first one is the problem that derive from the fact that you may not have the necessary knowledge to understand whether the output is correct or not.
It's so important.
So this is why I think it's weird when people say, oh, AI is going to make your every job irrelevant or stuff like that, right? You no longer need statisticians, right? You no longer need programmers. No, because you need the necessary knowledge to understand the output, right? And the second one is really like verification is essential. So there are points where you have to get back to the actual code or the nitty-gritty aspects of what Claude does, because otherwise you won't be able to verify.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so true, isn't it? When I was at Tableau, I was speaking to CEOs of companies, and they were delighted that AI would enable them to get rid of their data analyst teams. And it's like, well, good luck. You've not managed to solve the data problem yet. And when all your business users get themselves in a complete mess, well, who's going to verify your AI output? And we've had loads of chart chat episodes where we've shown some of those problems as well. So, yeah, it's true. And how long did this example take you? What's the sort of time lapse of building an app like this one? Minutes. Yeah.
I might have stopped and continued the day after, but yeah, it's minutes.
Yeah, it's amazing. Let me show you one I've been doing with color.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of drought and wildfires across Europe and the US, and I realized that the color palette choice puts you in a very strong position about telling a story about how intense something is, right? And you can frame the intensity of something by putting in more scary colors, right? And so I work with Claude to build an app. This is V1, right, that you're seeing on the screen here, where let me control the palette, see if we can change the stories. So the goal being to teach people that the color ramp, the diverging levels, the sequential steps all change things. And of course, I'll come on to one of the challenges of using AI is that you get very distracted. So I've been playing around with this today, and this is V2, right? So what I wanted to do, this is sort of started from The Economist. So what we can do is I can add hotspots, so I can build a heat map in Europe, and then I can choose some defaults, right? So here, let's say this is the drought or the heat in Europe at the moment. And you're like, oh, that's, is that scary? It's moderately scary. I don't know, but I can control things. I can make the legend start wherever I want. So if the legend starts at 20 degrees or at 20 degrees, things look okay. But if I take it all the way down to 0 degrees, then things start looking scary. And then, I've got purple at the end of this color legend. So I could say, well, bring the purple in a little bit earlier, to the point. And if we add in if I change the temperature, but we can start making this thing look really, really scary, right? And so, and then been trying to do the same thing with diverging palettes as well. This is still work in progress, so it's not quite finished. But the point being, you can kind of build your own scary heat map and control how scary things look by changing the color palettes. You're so right about the validation. I mean, this isn't validated. So if you're seeing mistakes here, then they exist, right? I haven't done a full validation check, but just the power and flexibility you have to bring in about boxes, link out, get advice. It's been exceptional. This is about 2 hours work in total now, maybe 3. So I think teaching color is always super important, and this is what I've been working on. So hopefully I'll get that one published as a proper artifact soon.
It's one really of the amazing because something like that, right?
Yeah,
it's that's what I was trying to say at the beginning. Before the advent of these AI tools, it would be like almost impossible to create something like this without major investment, right?
Yeah.
So what is really changing is that it's not that creating a tool like this wouldn't be possible before, but eventually it would become impossible because nobody wants to invest enough energy and time to create something like this, right?
Yeah.
And now it's so easy. It's not a little easier. It's like orders of magnitude easier. So it makes it so much easier that now many people like us can just say, hey, I'll give it a try. And you know what? If it doesn't work, I'm just going to trash it.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
So
yeah,
I
absolutely.
think at the conceptual level, right, if you are a person who has the privilege to teach to other people certain concepts, now you have this new kind of like palette of options in front of you, right? And I think, again, I want to stress this, it's enabled by the fact that it's so quick and it's so disposable, right? The fact that these little tools are completely disposable makes it so investing in an idea doesn't take much, so you can always try, right? But once you come up with something that is useful, now it's a huge benefit for the people you are teaching to, right?
Is there a downside to that though, right? Because I don't think what we've shown here is AI slop, right? I think these are valid, powerful applications, so I can build this in the US as well, and when finished and published, these are powerful, right? But if everybody can publish an app, and let's say most of them are good, is the downside that we might be drowning in this, or I might be duplicating this? Maybe somebody else might be building this same build a wildfire map and change the palette. That this tool might just get proliferated and duplicated. Do you think that's a risk?
I think there are 2 points, 2 important points here. One is that, yes, in fact, I imagine that what we may experience in the future, even in the near future, is that there will be a lot of Apple stores for different domains, right? Or repositories, right? In fact, one of the first thoughts I had when I started creating these explainers is exactly about, why don't we create a community resource, right, where people who create cool and useful explainers now can put it there, right, deploy it there, so that over time we build a huge collection of useful explainers for data visualization. And here we're talking about visualization, but you can imagine about many other domains. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the next $1 trillion idea that we should develop. And
the repository idea I think is great. Maybe we should build it. Talking of which, I've got Mark said, nice one to your application. That was from the previous thing. But Tom asked a good question that I'm struggling with. So one of the challenges I'm finding is about versioning. Are you at the stage that you've got good versioning for all the artifacts you're building yet? I feel like I'm drowning in content.
I think the secret here is really to switch to Claude Code.
Yeah.
Which is something I did relatively recently. With Claude, you can, whatever you do. Andy, do you think I need to explain how Claude Code works?
Yeah, sure. If you want to share your screen.
Okay.
Or I mean, I've got Claude Code here on screen.
I'll try to give like the 1 minute summary. So Claude Code is basically Claude, but running Claude in your terminal or an IDE of some sort, right? Yeah. And the biggest difference is that basically the model is still running remotely, but every file that the Claude produces or reads are in one of your folders or directories. So the way Claude Code works is that you point Claude Code to a new folder or a new directory that represents a project. And in that directory, it's going to create all the files that it needs or all the files that you ask it to produce, right? So that part remains in your directory and can always be reproduced in the future by restarting a session or creating new sessions. And why am I mentioning that? Because for versioning, now you can pair this up with GitHub and everything is versioned, right? Because you can basically update your repository at any time, and you can even ask Claude to update the repository. So if you're not familiar with GitHub, Claude can do it for you much better.
Yeah,
right.
So honestly, that's what. So what's on screen here? This is my Claude Code session in VS Code from updating the wildfire maps this morning, and here is my GitHub page. I mean, I find this. I don't know how to use Git, but look, I've got all these. I've got a whole bunch of things up here now that they're all my repositories, right?
Yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah.
So the secret for versioning is exactly this.
Yeah.
I must say that since I switched to Claude Code, I can hardly imagine doing anything serious with the regular interface. It's so much better. It takes a little bit of, it's kind of like a jump in the void because you don't know exactly what you're doing. But if I can give a suggestion to the people listening, it's like, just try. Because when you try, all in a sudden it clicks. It's like, oh, now I get it, how to use it. If you spend hours reading how Claude Code works, or you start watching YouTube tutorials, just go for it. It's not that hard. It looks hard, but it's not that hard.
I absolutely agree, and the where things are hard. I mean, what I found as well, I have like several monitors open at a time. I've got several monitors on my, so I've got like VS Code here, and then on another, I've got Claude in another monitor because there's things I don't understand in VS Code.
Yeah.
So I've got my Claude code session running there, but I had to use a different Claude to be like, how do I get VS Code running? So I've got Claude helping me get the thing running, and then Claude running. So it's all running.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure. So it's I'm being productive. I don't know if I'm wiser in the ways of setting it all up, but it all helps me. But I agree. The just do it is totally the recommendation. Did you want to show another example and talk through some of the challenges from that?
Yeah, I want to talk about something a little bit more positive. So I started with something like more problematic, but I want to talk about something that I want to give you an example of something that was remarkably impactful for me. So let me see if I can bring it up on the screen. So
what are you doing? Tom says the advice Tom gave to his BA students: just talk to the tool. I mean, it's good, right?
Just talk to the tool. Yeah.
If you haven't taken those first steps, then ask what the first step should be.
Yeah, exactly. Before we move on to this, I just want to mention one thing about Cloud Code that I think is important and it's been revealing for me. One thing that I really like is that when you switch to Cloud Code, you start thinking a little differently about how to solve a problem. And one of the main changes for me, I don't know if it's the same for you, Andy, is that now it becomes really natural to start multiple chats, multiple agents to solve a problem. And because of that, you are more in a mode of problem decomposition, which is hard to get in the standard interface. Because in the standard interface, you just add up things to your chat, even though you're taking very different tangents. And that connects back to what you were saying at some point. It's like it's a mess because you have to scroll and find exactly what you were trying to achieve at a certain point. But with Cloud Code, it becomes really natural to say, okay, this is a separate thread. I'm just going to open a new instance, a new session, but it's still referring back to all the files that are in and all the history that is in all the memory that is in my project, so I can decompose the problem in sub-problems. So I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, that's really true. Cool.
All right, so this is about a course that I've been developing over the last few weeks that it's done. And I think that's the first time that I develop new slides for a course and I have the full power of AI in my hands, right? And it's been amazing. I don't know how many more hours I would have spent if I had to create this same course without these AI tools, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not one specific example. It's more just all the charts that I've been able to create, right? So let me give you a few examples, right? So you see I have lots of slides here, right? And every single chart in this course has been created with Claude, right? Every single one.
Really? Are they PNGs or are they complex objects, or just in this example are they just PNGs?
There's nothing here that has not been created by Claude.
Right.
It's just copy and paste from the output.
Right.
Right. But that's what I really like, the fact, and I'm trying to go a little deeper with a few examples. What I really like here is that now you can chat with Claude and say, okay, I'm trying to convey this concept, right? And I want to create this set of charts that help me exemplify this concept. So now Claude has the context about what you are trying to achieve, right?
Yeah.
Which was really, really hard to do, even if you were working with a data visualization tools before, right? So the other thing I wanted to say is that in the past, Andy, me and you, we already talked about this offline. One of the biggest changes is that even if I were using a tool like Tableau or even coding something up myself in order to obtain the results that I want, I still had to use a data set of some sort, right? But now you don't need to use a data set of some sort because Claude can create that data set for you and create synthetic data that has the patterns that you need in order to show the effect that you want to demonstrate.
Yeah.
Right. So once again, was it impossible before? No, not at all. In principle, you could use Python or R and use some libraries that create certain synthetic data sets and then map these data sets to the visual form, but it's too laborious. You won't spend all the time.
And it was always
just one example, right?
And it was always too fake as well. When you tried to programmatically create a synthetic data set, it was just so tonally bad.
Exactly.
Transformed completely. Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Right. So here you see, I don't know. So I created an example of the truncated axis bar chart. I think that's the same that you did, Andy, a while back. Right. I had one that let me show you one that it took me a while to create the version that I wanted. Let me see if I can find it. Well, I'll show you this one first. So the double axis bar chart, right? It took me a while to create exactly what I wanted, but after some nudging, it just creates the one that I want, right?
Yeah.
And here it even creates a fake scenario, right? Landline versus mobile phone subscription, right? Let me see. I think I have another one that is really interesting. Just a second. Here, what I did. So sometimes another thing that I did is that sometimes you have in mind an example that exists online, right?
Yeah.
But now either the example that is online is not exactly what you want, or by the time that you find something online, is no longer styled with the style that you have in your slides, right?
Yeah.
So often what I did here was like to copy and paste the image from the example that I found, put it on Claude and ask Claude to reproduce it, right? And of course it does reproduce it very easily. And if you want to change certain aspects, you can still change those aspects. Side note, what I try to do is that when it's inspired from an existing example, I put a note in my slides that this has been inspired or taken from. So I try to. So we don't want to open up the can of worms of attribution and all the rest, but, right? But there's a problem here. So now if Claude can easily reproduce something that exists online, right? Attribution is important, right? So the same way you wouldn't directly use an example if you don't have permission to use it. Now that example doesn't look like the original, but is heavily it depends heavily on the original. So I think it's important to put right credits.
So there's some really interesting, some fascinating stuff there, right? So the original palette that inspired that I used for that color palette testing tool was from The Economist. So there's a link to The Economist page in there. But I want to share another example, which is we're going to echo back to a little bit of what we were just talking about proliferation, right? So this again is work in progress, but this is a project I've wanted to do for years, but just have not had the skill to do it. In the there's lots of chart directories online, right? But what I always found is, and it was stacked bars are the things that inspired this, because you always see stacked bars are terrible. It's like, well, they're not terrible.
They're not terrible.
They're doing some things, right? But they're really good at doing some others at the right. And so every chart is a compromise. So I was like, okay, let's work together, Claude, on grouping these charts together and going, well, a stacked bar is good at total, and it's this text is incorrect, but it's not good at comparing individual members, right? Okay, so what in this group of things we could compare this to group bars, or small multiples or line charts, right? And so over some time, I've organized this by different groups of categories, and then this is an A to Z of chart types as well. And so we can look in, we can look in donut charts, and donut charts are a compromise because they hide the middle. 100% stack bar allows you to compare multiple ones, right? So this is still a work in progress, but it is a realization of a dream, something I've wanted to do for a long time. But the reason I wanted to jump in and share it now is it's slightly similar to what you've just showed, right? In the, all of these icons, I didn't draw these. These are all Claude. I've got to validate and change a few of them. But then the other thing you talked about there was design, and you might notice that this has the same look and feel as the color palette tester I showed a few minutes ago, because I've also been using Claude Design a lot. So I've now got a full brand library in Claude Design. So this is my, I was like, look, I need a how to speak data brand kit. So now every teaching artifact I have is going to have that same artifact. And then the other thing I did in the, how do I get back to the stacked bars design app, I used Claude Design to do the wireframing on this first, right? So there was a lot of, this one took a lot of, this one has been properly prepared, right? So I thought deeply about what I was trying to achieve. We did the mock-up in Claude Design, and then you can export that to Claude Code and say, right, we've done the mock-up, now let's build the tech. And so that's been a much deeper project that I've been working on, trying to get the style right, trying to get the web, the user interface right, but it still all happens in Claude Code essentially. And yeah, it's somewhat similar to what you're building, right? So we are proliferating. Have you been using Claude Design?
No, I've not.
No.
I'm really curious. I've heard that the Figma AI is also really good. I don't know if you tried.
Yeah,
No,
and there's Google has one. Google has one as well. Is it Stitch? I think it's Stitch. I mean, I think
look, it's so hard to keep up. It's just
yeah. Yeah, tell me about that. I mean, how does that speed of the evolution of tools impact you as you try and grasp this technology to be a data visualization teacher?
It's hard to tell. So in the past, my mantra has been like, pick one tool, learn it really well, invest on it, and use it for the next 20 years until something else comes, right? Very good example. We mentioned Tableau a few times. I learned to use Tableau many years ago, and it's been my go-to tool for so many things.
Yeah.
And over time you learn all the little tricks, and it becomes so easy for you to do very complex things. So, and maybe after a few years, there's another tool, but I'm not really interested in using another tool, even if potentially it's better, because it's like, oh, that's my tool and I can do everything I need, right? But now it seems different. I don't know. As I just said, my default mode is to really, I'm not that kind of person who wants to try every tool. I am not a fan of tools in general, in the sense that I want to try everything. I like to spend as little time as possible in learning new tools, right? But then if there's a new tool out there that brings you from here to infinite, right? Like, wait a minute, this is something else, right? But so it used to be that you have that feeling every 10, 15 years. Now you have that feeling every few months. Right? It's really hard to wrap your head around it, because luckily, like we are in that generation of people who experience all these things, and we also experience using the first ChatGPT, the first Claude, right?
Yeah.
And then after a few months, you're like, oh, all the things I was worried about, they're gone, and now I can also do that, right? So it's almost like the limit now is your imagination.
Yeah.
The limit, so for several months, I now had in my head this thing that is like, it's clear to me that these tools are so powerful that the biggest limit is my ability to imagine what I could do with them. Because the more you push them in a certain direction, so sometimes you push them and you hit a wall, right? But there are other directions where if you are bold enough to push, you discover that it's capable to do what you thought it was impossible. So it's I don't know what to think.
I mean, you've articulated that so well. I just get this sense of AI anxiety about, I'm falling behind, and then you have conversations. So you've not used Claude Design, but I've used Claude Design. But you've been using so. Do you feel anxious there, right? But then you've been using Figma, and Tom's been doing versioning. Well, I'm not doing versioning. I'm falling behind, right? And then you read a news release about something else they've added, and it's exhilarating and exhausting, which is exciting, right? I mean, it's fundamentally exciting. So let me ask. So going back to our topic here about the teaching, you've written. I know you've written in the past about the changing nature of students as you've been through this field. I remember you posting about they all look at screens now and it's hard to get their attention in lectures. I think that was you. How is this period helping or hindering or just making those challenges worse or better? What's the impact for learners?
I wish I had a really good response to that. We don't know. Even talking with my colleagues. I think a recurring theme with AI is extreme excitement with extreme worry, right? At the same time. So for people like me working in universities, it's clear that the way we used to create assignments, for instance, it's mostly gone, right? Because students can do so much with these tools. Now, as a side note, I only taught one course so far after these tools became really, really popular, right? So I was able to experience the effect on students only in one course so far. And I was worried and surprised and positively surprised at the same time, in the sense that everybody uses these tools, right? I mean, telling students not to use these tools is ridiculous, right? First, it's not going to happen. They're going to use these tools. Well, I have teenagers at home. They use these tools, right? My sons use these tools all the time. So telling students not to use these tools is not going to work, and I'm not even sure we want to do that. But what surprised me in that course was like, it was really easy for me to detect which students just mindlessly use these tools versus those who were like, they were really trying to apply the notion, solve the problem on their own, and they got help from the AI, right? Now, why am I able to detect it? I can't really express it, right? But if you look, if I have an assignment and I look what the students submitted, after reading a few paragraphs, it's so evident. Right? Like, there are a number of signals. It's hard to express it. It's hard to make it explicit. And the problem, though, is that what do? Do you tell students, "Oh, you didn't"? My impression is that you didn't do the work. What do you actually tell them, right? Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, answer that question. I mean, have you addressed it, or are you? But
not completely. I have strategies, but not completely. Right. Plus, I didn't teach a course yet where the students have to produce an artifact, and in my next course, they will be able to produce artifacts like new visualizations or new data processing, new coding. What do I tell them to do? Because it's crazy to tell them not to use these tools. They will need to use these tools for some things. I think it's hard. It's really hard.
It's fascinating, and I think that the impact on education is far beyond the scope we can solve in one episode of the AI Analyst. So look, we're at 45 minutes in, so let's wrap up. hopefully people have found this interesting. If you're watching, what Enrico, would you say are 3 things people should do to get started if they want to try? What should they be doing?
I would say the one thing is try.
Yeah.
Right. Try, don't. I think I did this. Sometimes I fall into this trap myself. I want to first learn how to do it and then do it. I found that in general, this is true, but with these tools is even more important. Don't be afraid to just try, because as you try to use them, then they click, right? It's just, it clicks in your mind how to use them. The second thing is what I said earlier, like the limit is your imagination. These tools can do, so there are simple things that they can do well, but there are also crazy things that you can't even imagine. And if you try, they will do it, right? By the way, so I don't know if your listeners know that there are programmers who do programming using only their voice because it's faster.
Yes. Yeah.
Isn't that completely crazy?
It's crazy. Yeah.
So, so I think the second advice is like, if you think something is, try to think about crazy things to do with these tools, because some of these things will be possible.
Right? I'm going to share one more. Right, this is not
okay.
Because this is the perfect example. This is what I was reading a book about games, right? And the game, the guy was talking about a game actors play. They all stand on the stage, and then they just they're told to choose 2 other actors, and then each player then has to try and become an equilateral triangle with the other actors, right? So they've all chosen randomly, and each actor then there's this game of chaos, right? And I was like, I'm reading this book, I go, that sounds brilliant. What does that look like? And it's like, well, this is what it looks like. So each one of these is an actor, and we can hover over the actor and see the triangles, right? So this is the actor trying to do that, and and it's brilliant. And then you create this thing, and then I've got this app, and it starts building these brilliant patterns. Right? It's absolutely incredible. But that was an example of me just trying. This is an older version without this also has a 3D rendered version, but that's a newer version. But it's just about trying. Exactly. I'd also add validate, right? We talked about validating, because you've got to be, if you're going into production or teaching, then you've got to know what you're doing is correct. So my every chart is a compromise application is riddled with errors right now. So I've got to do
keep your skepticism on, because it's so easy to get fooled. Because things look good. They almost always look good. Right.
We are
so it's you have to be really alert, right? If it's just for fun, something for fun, it doesn't matter. But as you said, if whatever you produce is interfacing with other people, then you really want to be careful, right? I'll say that the third thing that just came to mind, we didn't mention that's a whole other episode, but I want to mention it. We can become we can end up in, I find myself sometimes relying too much on these tools. So the other thing that is not easy to do is to learn when not to use a tool, because that's going to degrade your ability to do certain things. And that's a whole other theme. But there are moments where I'm like, oh, I'm being lazy. I'm not being smart. Right? And if I do this too often, too many times, I'm gonna lose my ability. I am really afraid that I will lose the ability to do certain things because I'm lazy. And I think that's another really, really big theme.
Stepping away from the show. I similar to that, I find it distracting. I've spent more time this morning fixing that color palette thing than I probably should have. I had better things to do. All right, well, I'll just say one more comment. I think Irene's referring back to the challenge you face as an educator. I remember this, Irene. Here's a typewriter, Andy, and you had to change the ribbon. And I'm like, well, my dad's got a laptop at home. Why am I using this? So yes, that we're in a perpetual state of progression. Right. Well, look, Enrico, that has been absolutely brilliant. You know, I think I'm really glad we managed to get this to happen. So look, out there, let us know in the comments if you've been building tools to teach data viz or to teach yourself data viz as well. And Enrico, where can people find you?
Well, I think if you type my name on Google, I should show up first. And then as I said, I write a newsletter. It's called FILWD, which stands for Fell in Love with Data. And
is it? I never knew that. I always wondered what it was, right?
See, yeah, so it's an old story. I used that name many years ago, and then I stopped using it explicitly because I'm not sure that I'm really in love with data anymore. But the acronym stood. I didn't really want to change. So anyway, I publish articles in my newsletter pretty often. I had a gap recently, but I will restart very soon. And I also create online courses. There is one that is going to come out in the next few months. And so if you want to learn data visualization, you can look there. And if you are interested in what I post, take a look at the archive, see if you're interested. Sign up. And many of my posts are about the intersection of AI and data, but I also cover other themes.
Brilliant. Well, similar for me. There's a QR code for my newsletter, and we're both fortunate actually, Enrico, and we've got quite unique names. Well, actually, I don't know. Well, there's not many Andy Cockgreaves around. I don't know how many Enrico Bertinis there are, but certainly if you append data on the end of those, either of our names, you definitely find us. Brilliant. All right. Well, look, Enrico, thanks so much, and continue inspiring the community as you have done for decades. It has been decades.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. That was fun.
And to everybody else, I'll see you for future episodes in September I've got Elijah Meeks and Info Topics and somebody else who I can't tell you about right now. We'll line up future episodes of the AI Analyst. All right. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.